Hello and welcome back to Fist Entertainment. It's been a long time, but I am finally moved. Very happy to say I am finally moved in my new home. And as you can see, I am filming this pretty much in the theater room itself, right in front of the big ass screen behind me, as you can see. Well, it's been a long process to get everything done. This room's not completely done yet, but it's almost there. There's been quite a few enhancements, like putting drapes and curtains behind the screen to block out ambient light in overlapping rainbow effects. So you cannot see through the screen anymore. You just see the image projected onto the screen, which makes it a hell of a lot bigger experience than ever before. Well, I came across this title on a limb over at Target in a very exclusive steelbook. So I will show out the steelbook. Take this digital copy out, which I never like these things. Show the inside the steelbook. And then obviously you can see I will be reviewing Waterworld. Let me first say that I did not watch the extended cut of this movie. I've never been a fan of that cut of the film. Not to mention it's the cut of the film in this release that doesn't really give you the complete, full, immersive experience that you expect from a 4K title. So I thought it was a good idea not to watch that version of the movie, but instead go for the version that gives you the full experience. And that's the theatrical cut. Well, the plot of the movie, and we'll make it quick on the plot of the film. Taking place a few hundred years into the future, the polar caps have thawed out, and pretty much the world as we know it is now literally a world of water. There is no dry land at all. And due to a few hundred years of evolution, some people have evolved to where they can literally adapt to the world around them. Like our main character, played by Kevin Costner. I believe this character's name is Monar, which relates to his evolutionary difference that he has to regular humans, is that he's basically the equivalent of a male mermaid. A man mermaid. He has gills on the back of his ears to allow him to breathe indefinitely underwater. He has flipper-like feet instead of regular digits. And of course, there's this very interesting little girl who has this tattoo, which is in the form of a map. There's supposedly a map to the last dry land place on Earth. And with these pirates known as smokers, led by a very deranged character played by Dennis Hopper, playing a very over-the-top character like he always does in movies, he's obsessed with getting the possession of this map and ruling the last dry land location on Earth. And of course, Kevin Costner's character rescues, well, it doesn't really rescue, pretty much takes on this little girl in a mom figure to this little girl, but actually isn't her biological mom, but looks after the kid like a mom. And they're trying to, stay clear of these pirates. And of course the kid gets kidnapped by his pirates, and our reluctant hero, who has from the bottom of the kid, goes and saves the kid and destroys the pirates in the pirate ship. And they eventually find dry land. And he goes his merry way by leaving everybody in the dry land because it's not the world that he recognizes or understands, so he goes back to sea. And that's basically the movie. This film, when it first came out in 1995, was not really all that well accepted. People did not understand this movie. But in the year 2021, when this 4K release of the movie, which I have the exclusive steelbook of, came out, this film probably has much more relevance today than it ever did have in the past. Because one thing that we always talk about is global warming. Well, some films out there talk about it, like 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow from Roland Emmerich, about the polar ice caps melting and what would happen. Well, what would happen is not actually a new ice age. What would happen is probably more likely what you see in this movie, Waterworld. The entire world would be submerged underneath water, and we would have to adapt to living on ships and doing weird things like peeing in a cup and filtering the water out of our own piss to drink water, or to go ahead and have to go ahead and live off of food like Spam, although they call something else in this, to survive. And all the luxuries that we take for granted would be considered holy. And that's probably likely what it would be like, which makes this film very realistic and relevant. I myself am not opposed to clean energy. I just think that we need to have a more concrete way of creating clean energy, which we don't have right now. And that's really the argument. The argument is not that anyone is opposed to it. The argument is basically, how do we do it to where it actually has any real sense of working versus not? Now, that said, that opposes Republicans or it opposes Democrats. It really doesn't matter much to me because I oppose both of you. Always have, and I've always been very clear about that. I respect you, respect your opinion, but I'm an independent, and I'm proud of being an independent. The luxury of that is I'm not part of any, cult or our group or our party or whatever you want to call it. I'm not part of it. No, this is not a political review, obviously, although this film is kind of political, if you think about it. Now let's talk about the quality of the film. The film was shot in 1.85.1 widescreen, and I'm very happy that Universal did not modify this. It didn't modify it in its regular Blu-ray release either. It didn't modify it in this release. I'm very happy about that because we have a screen like this. Aspect ratios did not adapt themselves like they do on television. And so if a film is in 1.85, it looks different than 1.78. And that's why it always annoys me when they do that to movies. They're in 1.85. Just like it annoys me if they change a 1.66 to a 1.78. That annoys me too. So it's very wonderful when you can watch a movie in its original aspect ratio versus a altered one. And I'm very happy to say this is actually in 1.85. The new sound mix is DTS-X Master Audio. And boy, is it a good one. There's very, very good object-based overhead acoustic effects that are very realistic to what's going on in the movie. So at points in the film, it feels like you actually are on these sail ships, and you can hear the wind and the water around you and all that stuff, as if you're in the ship yourself. Explosions are very good on the stereo mixes. Mono channel dialogue is awesome. The bass, there's a lot of good bass in this movie, and at some points it's a little overwhelming. But that's just awesome. I'm very appreciative of that. Now let's talk about the picture. This was shot on film, 35mm film. And while it still obtains its film element, this is one of the best 4K transfers I've seen. And mind you, I still do not have a 4K display. But you can see where all that hard work went by keeping what made the movie look the way that the movie should have always looked before being monitored, being, changed and modified for the digital age. This film looks as close as it probably is ever going to look to the original 35mm film. And I can see that with the attention to detail while keeping it looking like a film. And this is something I like about this movie, is the 4K does that. And judging from what I've seen with at night sequences and dark sequences having good depth and definition where you can really see things and good contrast, this will make your HDR and Dolby Vision, both whatever technology you're using on your 4K display, is going to look very stunning. The colors, this is not a colorful movie. This is an actually very blink movie. But I couldn't help but notice there's actually some pretty good colors in this film. Overall, a very good experience. A very, very good experience and a wonderful film. And if you have never seen Waterworld, I definitely recommend that you do. And it's very cool to be back. There's a lot of wonderful things we will be doing in the future. And now that I am moved into my new home, I can definitely say I will be more consistent now. It's just very hard to be consistent when you have so much going on in your own life. But I'm back. And I hope I'm back for a long time. And I'll see you guys next time for the next review. Until then.